and welcome to today's episode of Between Friends. I'm Eileen Roche, a longtime embroiderer, and your host for today's show. I'm also the co-founder of Dime. Today's topic is about freestanding lace and how to stitch it successfully. You know, freestanding lace, it's easy to stitch, right? You just hoop water-soluble stabilizer, load the design, and then walk away. When you come back, you have a beautiful lace design in the hoop. There's no worry about placement because we're just stitching it on stabilizer. And there's really not much concern about thread color. Often freestanding lace designs are just one color. So you pick a beautiful spool of thread off of your wall of thread or your cabinet of thread, and then you stitch. After that, you head to the sink and rinse away that excess stabilizer. And that's when disaster can strike. So we'll take a closer look at this whole process and see where it can go wrong and how to avoid it in the future. We'll discuss the different types of water-soluble stabilizer, rinsing and drying methods. But before we get started, I'd like to know, what is your favorite freestanding lace to stitch? Is it bookmarks, maybe napkin rings, earrings, or other jewelry? So I'm going to check the comments. I see we've had a lot of comments already about people just love to stitch freestanding lace. So let's see what you've been saying. Like Vicky, you've been making Christmas ornaments, cuffs for elegant blouses, and neck art for t-shirts. I love that. Just absolutely love that. And Renewal Coxon, our good friend from Embroidery Garden, she likes stitching lace flowers in the spring. And if I remember correctly, she has a gorgeous lace, floral lace collection from Dime that is just to die for. So let's see. And Carolyn Booth, she's been stitching lace flowers all morning. Well, it sounds like spring is in the air, right? Sounds like spring is in the air. Sue, you make butterflies. That's lovely. Jana, you do bookmarks, angels, earrings, Christmas ornaments, all of the above. And earrings and bookmarks for Sybil. Okay. Kirsten Swatson, she does earrings. I like to do the earrings also. And Sharon Dayton, earrings and flowers. Okay, and Mickey Smith, she says any freestanding lace that is small. She doesn't like large projects. Well, it's good to know your comfort zone, right? I kind of like small projects too. You know, they're easier to jump into and you finish a lot, faster than you would if something's very large, 50,000 stitches or something like that in a lace design, right? Debbie L, you say flowers and jewelry and flowers, excuse me. And Linda Johnston, hello, Linda. Good to see you here. You've made a lot of lace butterflies and sewed them on a wall hanging. Oh, that's a great application for freestanding lace. It gives that 3D element to pretty much of a flat piece of art, right? Whether that's a quilt or not, it's still kind of flat. So let's see. Catherine, you just finished stitching a set of napkins. Lovely, great idea. Christmas ornaments. I'm wondering if some of you are already stitching for next year's Christmas. I'd like to know that too, because boy, if you are, I'm really proud of you for sure. Really proud of you. It's early to start, but that's, early bird gets the worm, right? And let's see, Ingrid, so you've done embroidered, you only have embroidered with Christmas and you like the butterflies, but you've never made it with software. Well, anyway, we're not really going to talk about software today, but we do have a whole My Lace Maker software program. So if you love lace, we're the people that you can get it done with for sure. And Sandra, you've done, witches' hats and small Christmas boxes. Very nice, very nice. So it's amazing to me how many people really love the lace. They just, when you think about, do you wear lace? Maybe a lot of us don't wear kind of formal clothing where, we have lace garments, but we often add it to t-shirts. I've done a lot of classes on that myself. And like one of our viewers mentioned, she adds it to cuffs to kind of really dress up a garment. Very nice. But it's very usable, right? You can use it in home decor. Of course, we make jewelry out of it, Christmas ornaments, all that. And Lee has said that she has done many of OESD's projects, including the cuckoo clock. Oh, Oh, good for you. I haven't tackled it yet, but I have seen the finished sample and it is gorgeous. It is gorgeous, definitely. So let's kind of go back to where we had started. So in today's program, we're going to talk about keeping the outlines in place, rinsing with confidence, and drying, whether you do it with time or heat, one or the other, or a combination of both. But rinsing is the applying the water to remove that water soluble stabilizer is really key to the overall finish of your lace. So we'll talk about going too far and what happens when you do that. And let's see, Maureen Wilcoxon in Embroidery Garden, she says lace and denim looks great together. Absolutely. And Debbie, you like our software because you can design your own pieces. You sure can. You can design anything your heart's desire, for sure. And Cindy, you made a lighthouse out of lace. Boy, that's sounds like a beautiful project. Okay, so let's see. So for, many years here, we have been stitching freestanding lace and with success, but not always success, right? One continuous problem that occurred was stabilizer creep. And what is stabilizer creep? Well, that's when the stabilizer pulls into the hoop, right? And that's how we can often have outlines kind of creep away from the body of the lace. Now a standard hoop will give you a nice strong hold, but we love our monster hoops here. And, we stitch in our monster hoops all the time, kind of regardless of what project we're doing. So when we were experiencing that stabilizer creep, my good friend Ashley Jones came up with a solution and invented a tool that stops stabilizer creep during the stitching process on Snap Hoop Monster. And that product, Stable Grip, is the sponsor of today's program. So she invented this herself. Now she's in Florida, right? And our home office is here in Dallas. And she had a moment of inspiration and, got on the phone with my partner, Gary Gardner, and I, and discussed this problem and, what could we do for a solution? And we had several prototypes. These things don't just happen like that. Believe me, there is several rounds of prototype making, testing on hoops and so forth until, we're satisfied with the outcome. And this is what it is, which is Stable Group. It is a handy little product that you are really going to enjoy learning why to use it and how to use it. So let's take a look at this video, and it's a real quick video on how it's used. So Judith, or Sybil says that she has them. She's already bought them, but she hasn't used them yet. Well, Sybil, I hope that you'll be encouraged to use them after today's program. You see how easy they are to apply the hoop and how they work. And Donna, you say they work really well. You already have them, so good for you. I'm glad. And Lynn, you've already ordered them and you're waiting for your package to arrive. Well, that's awesome. They are in-house. I can tell you they're in stock, so we'll be shipping as soon as you order. So why don't we head over to the overhead camera and take a look at them. So they're sold in 4 different put-ups, right? We have the 4-inch that you would use in your small hoop. We have a package of 4 7-inch stable grips, a package of 4 9-inch And then we have the bundle, because sometimes you need 2 of the 9, 2 of the 7, or maybe 2 of the 4 and 2 of the 7. Hoops come obviously in rectangles, and they have different sizes on their sides. So you kind of need a mix. I suggest that you purchase the bundle and maybe the 4 and a pack of 4. That's a good starter kit. Most of your lace, I find for me, I'm doing in either a 4x4 or a 5x7 hoop. So they are just so easy to use, and I'm going to show you how we snap them on. Now, I will tell you, before we get into the real details about lace, there's other reasons to use them. Like, you can use them for a lot of in the hoop projects, because in the hoop projects, you are hooping only stabilizer, right? So in this instance, I'm putting a zipper, I'm doing a bag, right? I already have this taped down, but I want to make sure that this no-show light is going to be nice and taut in that hoop, because it's just that one layer of stabilizer that's captured in the hoop. So the stable grips work really well. I want you to notice how the arrows on all of the stable grips are pointing into the body of the hoop. And that's because a stable grip, let me pull one off and show you on the side. It has one leg is longer than the other. So can you see this leg here is longer than this leg? So if I was to put a flat surface here, you could see that I'm at a slant, right? This one is a little bit longer, and that's the one that goes inside the sewing field. And the reason why it does is because we want to push the stabilizer down even with the bottom of the metal frame. So it's not extending beyond the metal frame. It's just right there, even with the bottom metal frame. So it's not going to scratch your machine. It's not going to scrape against the machine. It's the same level as the base of the metal, but it's just pushes down that stabilizer ever so much to give it a nice, firm, taut hold. So that's an in the hoop, bag. And then we have, some of us like to do piecing in the hoop. Well, again, I'm using that no-show light and in my 8x8 hoop. So I have 4 of the 7-inch stable grips that are attached to this hoop. And here, let me flip that around so you can see the heart. But super cute little project. Now, if I was just quilting in the hoop, I wouldn't use this, but I actually pieced in the hoop. I'll flip this over so you can see everything that went on, right? I actually pieced all of these 5 patches in the hoop. I did an applique, with that beautiful satin edge, and then quilted right in the hoop. There is batting underneath of my top fabric and on top of my light no-show mesh. So as you can see, that's a lot of stitches than just quilting in the hoop. So I wanted to make sure that the applique was going to line up with my quilting and make sure everything was perfect. So that's why I added my stable grips. Just another example of how helpful they are. Okay, I'll get this out of the way because we're going to, do some rinsing and going to be kind of making a mess here. So first, let's talk about stabilizer, what we would use. And, many of you are familiar with the 2 types of water-soluble stabilizer. And one is the film type that you can see here is so shiny, right? And the other is no-show, not no-show, is sew and wash. And it's kind of like it's like a mesh. And it's nice and strong. I mean, you can tear it if you really are violent with it, but it's got some nice body to it. We often use 2 layers. Don't always have to, depends on how heavy your stitch count is. But I want to show you why it's preferable over the film. So I'm going to bring this up to really close, and you can see, look at my outlines. They're beautiful, right? No separation between the stabilizer and those satins. it's gorgeous. It's just exactly how I want it. On the film, it's a different story. Here, you can see it is literally separating. I could like just rip that right out right now. Can you see that in the film? I hope you can. I'm just working on a little screen here, so I'm hoping you see more than I do. So on this side, it's attached. Over here, it's absolutely separated. This heavy-duty water-soluble stabilizer we use for patches. And we do that because we will tack down our patch, do all of the details on the twill patch. And the last thing that is stitched on a patch on this stabilizer is the satin outline. And once it's down, it's easy to pop that patch out of the hoop. But you don't want that on lace because oftentimes you have many satin details within a lace design before you even get to the edge. And sometimes the edge is stitched prior to the details in the center. So you wouldn't want it to separate during the stitching process. So this is not the right stabilizer. You want the sew and wash, which is just nice and beautiful and strong and rinses away lovely. Okay, so let's take a look at what can happen when we're using the wrong stabilizer, or like, look at this hot mess, right? So we really did have a problem there. And yet we've had great success. Look at all these beautiful earrings, right? We have hoops, we have danglers, another dangler, more hoops. They're just really fun. So of course, these earrings here stitched out fairly well, right? We think they did. And when we rinse them, we hope they're going to not look like that, right? Oftentimes you don't know until you rinse that they're going to separate. Sometimes you can see that it has kind of crept away, but anyway, looks good. So I've stitched some bunnies and I already took it out of the hoop. I did 3 different bunnies, and I did that for a reason, because I'm going to trim them and we're going to rinse. So I'm going to turn my kettle on again. I mean, it is super hot, but I just want to make sure. And we're going to use the blue for cold, right? And we'll use the, just want to see here, blue for cold and pink for hot water. And the orange is just kind of an extra in case we have some kind of disaster. And you do like to trim as close, as possible, right? Just because it's just faster and easier to manipulate because you're going to rinse this away. So you might as well just hold on to it. So I'm going to bring my tray out. And I have room temperature water in this one. And I have a kettle going that's going to be spewing really hot water in just a moment, literally boiling temperature. And I have my temperature gun because I love doing that. It's so fun. So let's go ahead and take a look at what is the temperature of this water. So it's 73 degrees. That's what our room temperature is here right now. And we're going to do the blue. I'll just put it in there. And you can see it doesn't want to dissolve. I mean, it will over time, right? I have my asparagus tongues, and I can kind of pull this away. And, but it's just removing from the outside. And I can let it soak for a little while, for sure. It's very tacky. I can feel how tacky it is on my hands. So we can let it soak there a little bit, but that's 73 degrees. Okay, so now let's go ahead and take hot steaming water. You can see that steam coming off. And let's see what the temperature is of that. And that says it's 189 degrees. So now we'll take our pink one and we'll put it in there, and look at that. That dissolves immediately. Immediately. So I'm going to let that little bunny, just kind of lay in there. And if you're wondering where I got these bunnies, well, I made in my Lace Maker software. I just, super easy to do. Just there's so many shapes in my lace maker, and I just added the grid and the satin outline and just put some little embellishments around his sides and some dots, little polka dots for his face, and then some satin interior of his ears. So we're going to take this one out. And when I have to get my terry cloth towel, let's get this all situated. So I did bring in a baker's rack, right? This is what I would use at home. And I would place my first one right on there, kind of let them dry. And I do like to use a terry cloth towel to blot it. So I'll put it just like that, and then we'll blot it. Just take a moment to kind of absorb that water, right? And then I do peel it off because I don't want it to stick to my terry cloth, right? And then let's go ahead and take out the one that was in hot water. Now, the longer you let it sit, the more supple the lace will become. And when they're wet in both hot and cold water, it's a little difficult to determine just how supple they're going to be until they're dry. But you can see here how the pink bunny is kind of shriveling up, right? He's losing some of his shape as compared to the blue bunny, right? See how his interior, that grid that's there, is not as perfectly aligned as it is in the one that was rinsed in cold water. So let's go ahead and pick him up. I have some threads on there. There's threads on everything, right? In your embroidery studio, is it the same? If you just, I snipped the thread tails between the eyes and the nose. And so that's what, like maybe 6 little pieces of thread. Yeah, they're everywhere now. You would think it was, 30. Okay, so at this point, you could shape this. You could just, take a moment to kind of fill it out and take some time. But again, I'm going to dry that on the dryers, on the baker's rack, and let that finish. If you will have an opportunity after it's completely dry to press it and work on its shape if you so desire. I've already done this on previous samples, so I'm going to remove all of my hot mess here so that I just get it out of harm's way and out of the camera view so that you can see the difference. So here's my bunny, and we get that side camera up. Here's the bunny that is stitched on, that was rinsed in the cold water, right? And this one is the one that was stitched in the hot water. Now look how flexible he is. See how his ears are drooping? So maybe if you were applying this to a garment, you'd want to use that hot water because you would want that fabric, the lace to be fluid, just like the fabric that you're going to applicate it on. But if you are using this in a craft situation, let's say it's going to be applied to a napkin ring, or you're going to, add it to an Easter basket, then you probably want him to stand up nice and straight. So that's the different outcome that will happen by the heat. Now, if this was all distorted, I could re-wet it and I could press it and get it back into the shape that I want. But, it didn't really distort because I didn't handle it too much. I just let it dry on that baker's rack and everything was just fine. So, that's how easy these things are, how easy they are to do. So let's see. So let's see what kind of comments you have. And if you have any questions, let's see. Linda Johnson, you say, love the sew and wash, a wonderful product. I know, me too. It's great. And let's see, Donna Marie, you say they work great for holding down mylar and topping also. Are they magnets? I think I better start at the top and come down because I don't really know what I'm getting into here. Let's see. What about sticky hoops for freestanding lace? Well, could you use sticky hoops for freestanding lace? You could use sticky hoops for freestanding lace. Absolutely. But then you have that adhesive in there. And that adhesive, to rinse away, well, you would not use the stabilizer that comes with your sticky hoop. You would purchase adhesive sew and wash because, again, you still want to rinse away the stabilizer. So the stabilizer that comes with the purchase of your sticky hoop is a tear away. That's not appropriate for freestanding lace. You most certainly can purchase adhesive sew and wash, cut that to the size of your sticky hoop and put it on the back of your sticky hoop. Now, when you go to, but the function, the idea of sticky hoop is to hold something in the hoop, right? An item that you're going to apply embroidery to. So it's kind of it's not a good use of the adhesive wash away because you're not holding anything in there. You're just stitching on the stabilizer. So anyway, it's possible you can do it. If you want to rinse away the adhesive sew and wash, it's best to do that in the same principle that I showed you, but put a couple drops of fabric softener in the water. And that will help dissolve that adhesive. Just a couple drops. You don't have to do overkill, but that will help that. Okay, so let's see. Oh, and Judith, you purchased the bundle. Smart woman. Absolutely. Thank you so much. We appreciate your business. And let's see. The bunnies are so cute. Aren't they cute? They're so easy to make. Yeah. Let's see. Is there a place to get info on the freestanding lace program? Or absolutely. So if you go to our website, you can go to, we have a header, I think that's called software, and look for My Lace Maker, or you can go into the search box, My Lace Maker software. Over on our YouTube channel, we have our software success, and we also, which is Ashley Jones's program here live twice a month, and you can find out her lessons on My Lace Maker. You can also search on our YouTube channel for My Lace Maker, and there will be a series of videos available. If you have any of our other software, you can play in My Lace Maker software because all of our software is available on the right-hand side of Embroidery Toolshed. All of our features, all of our different modules are there, and you can play in any one of them in demo mode. You won't be able to save that design, but you most certainly can explore the features of the software and play with it in there. So I hope that you'll take advantage of that, Sharon. It's so fun. How do you keep it from curling up? You keep it from curling, keeping lace from curling up by rinsing it in room temperature water so that it lays flat. And then when you you blot it on a terry cloth towel in a flat manner. I then remove it from the terry cloth towel because I have learned that the lace can dry and stick to the terry cloth fiber. So I blot it and then I move it over to a baker's rack and make sure it's flat then. And if it does curl up, then I just press it under a hot iron, probably with a little steam, and that will flatten it out. Let's see. What if you don't leave the hot bunny in the hot water that long? Well, then it won't be as fluid. So the longer you apply the heat to the sew and wash, the more fluid the lace will become. So if you want to keep some body in it, some body in the bunny, then use a shorter amount of time in the hot water bath. Okay, so you'll just kind of play with it. You'll learn. Let's see. Okay, and Maureen Wilcoxon says she likes to dry freestanding lace between two pieces of plastic canvas. Oh, well, that's brilliant, right? Plastic canvas, you all know what that looks like, right? It's a grid, tiny little holes. It's like a baker's rack on steroids and costs pennies, I'm sure. And so that's a great idea. Stick it between two layers of that plastic canvas. Great idea. And thanks for sharing that, Reen. I wish I had heard that before today's broadcast. I would have showed that. So let's see. Oh, okay. Here's one of our team members popped in and said, here's the software success playlist. So you can just use that link to go over and find the instructions on My Lace Maker. Yeah, and Shazia, you say you love how dye modules work together in one place. I do too. It's my favorite feature about all of our software programs. It doesn't matter what program I'm in, I have access to all the other tools. So even if I'm making lace, and for some reason, if I want to make a quilt block and put that lace on top of it, I can do so. So yeah, lots and lots of freedom in our software, which is just great. Okay, so let's see. Dawn Chase over at Creative Applications, she says she uses plastic canvas as well. She weaves yarn around 3 of the sides so they stay together. I'm not really sure what that means. You're just making I don't know if that means you're making a bigger grid or if you're making a box. I'm not sure. And Rita, you're making an envelope. Okay. Rita, you dry it on parchment paper. Well, that's a great idea too, because parchment paper doesn't really absorb water. I mean, it will. Yeah, so Creative Applications says that she makes an envelope and you dry it in there. Well, that's very smart. Thank you. Thanks for sharing that. That's awesome. So, isn't it fun? The freestanding lace is so fun. I love how you have the freedom to make it fluid or rigid, and that you can use it in so many different applications, right? Because like on table linens, you probably want it fluid, right? You don't want a napkin corner that's going to be so stiff. You want it to be elegant and kind of just drape on the plate like, normal fabric would. Okay, so anyway, super fun. So let's see. I thought I would share with you well, here's the sew and wash. So let's go ahead and pop that up there. This is what I recommend, our exquisite sew and wash. And depending on how heavy of a design you're stitching, you may want to use 2 layers. Now, in those red earrings, I just used 1 layer because it was a 5-minute design, literally, to stitch both earrings. But on the bunnies, I used 2 layers. And just because we know, right, that's a lot of stitches in there. That took about 40 minutes to stitch those 3 bunnies. So it was quite a bit of stitch count. And let's see, Embroidery Garden, she molds her lace flowers as they dry, which I should have had an example of that. And, so I can kind of go over, I think, and show how you would do that. Let's see if I can find something round in the room. What do we have here, folks? What do we have here? Not much, I can tell you that. I have this jar. So bear with me here, right? So the blue is the cold one, and this one is the one that's most fluid. So if I wanted to do this for whatever reason, I literally can just let this dry. It can stick in that fashion, or I could rubber band it all the way around and allow it to really hold that shape. So when it dried, it would literally be in that shape. If you're making jewelry that's like a cuff, you can do that for sure. Or, Christmas ornaments, flowers where you want the petals to curve in, that kind of thing. Yeah, absolutely. Shaping is an important part of freestanding lace. So I hope that sorry that I didn't really have a good example of that. I should have. But anyway, I like the heat thing. That's my favorite part of teaching lace, right? Okay, so let's see. The earring collection that I just showed you is just earrings, and it comes with danglers and drops, which is those red earrings that we did. That's shown up there in the right-hand corner. It's actually a 2-color design, but I opted to stitch it in today's program in just the 1 color. We also have some hammered metal designs that are included in the just earrings. And fringe, which is, gorgeous. Love that fringe. We'll be doing fringe in a couple weeks, so I hope that maybe you'll come back from that. And let's see, Gina Butler, you have made flower molds from aluminum foil. Brilliant, right? You can most certainly shape that into a ball, or, like kind of the the interior of a petal and then just wrap that floral petal around it. Absolutely. Let's see. And the designs that you've created in My Lace Maker shrink when I rinse them. Any thoughts? That's probably shrinking from the really hot water. And it's not so much that the thread is shrinking. It's just, once the stabilizer is removed, the open area of the lace is pulling in. So just pressing that would probably turn it, put it back to its original size, and maybe don't press it so hot. Let it, I used boiling water. I used water at 189 degrees, so maybe a little bit lower than that, and don't let it sit that long. And let's see, a snap band would keep the bunny close to the jar. Sure would. Absolutely. I like that. Gina's idea about using, making a mold from aluminum foil. That's brilliant, because we also know that the lace bunny or lace flower will not stick to the foil, right? Once it's dry, you just very easily remove it, for sure. Okay, so the earrings, the fringe, super fun. And then I just wanted to let you know that Ashley Jones is going to be here on April 15th, tax day. So she's going to lighten up the mood if it's a bad day for you, or maybe it's a good day if you're getting a refund, right? And she'll be teaching all about one of our software programs. I hope you don't miss her shows, because she's brilliant. I'm always learning from her, and I know many of you are too. She is one talented lady, and I'm thrilled to have her as a team member, for sure. On April 17th, Ashley's actually going to be taking over Between Friends. So she'll be here, and she's going to be here with, I think, Renewal Coxon. She'll be back. So it's a new product reveal that you are just going to love. So I hope you enjoy that, and bring your questions, because she'll have answers. They both will. We really love it when you subscribe to our YouTube channel and like us on Facebook. It tells us that we are giving you the educational content that you seek, and we're happy to be of service to you in that fashion. So tell us by your, well, I love all the comments we had today, for sure. And we continue to, be inspired by your connection with us. So please like us on Facebook and subscribe. We want to see what you're stitching. So please share your projects, whether they're freestanding lace, in the hoop, quilt blocks, or you name it, on social media channels. Use the hashtags DimeSewAlong, On the House, or Exquisite Thread, and we'll search social media, find them, and then share it with you right here. So my friend here, Connie said, Shazia said that where is she? She says, I hope that it's not in the hoop, because she's going to be in the UK next week. Well, Shazia, if it is, that's okay, because you can watch it when you return, right? All of these programs are on YouTube, and they're on Facebook, that you can go and watch the rebroadcast at any time, and you control how you watch it, when and how fast, and you can fast forward to areas that you really want to pay special attention to, and so forth. So don't worry that you're going to miss the live. Don't worry about that. And let's see, Connie said you just bought the earrings and still haven't received. Now, well, that's a download, Connie. You should have received an email and with the download link. So if not, just contact our customer service, because it's, it happens like that, for sure. If you love those earrings, you can be stitching them in today, because they are a download, for sure. Okay, so when you look for our free designs, just go to dzgns.com and go to Embroidery Projects Free Designs. That's where you're going to find these free designs for the next couple weeks, and they're there for you to enjoy and to download. This week's design is a quilt design. I didn't coordinate with a freestanding lace. I should have given you the bunnies, but a couple weeks ago we did the monster hoop, the snap hoop monster quilt design. Well, these are thread spools. So I hope that you enjoy that and embellish some wonderful quilt project that you're working on. Thanks for joining me today, and I'll be back in 2 weeks, and I look forward to joining with you then.